Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. JSE-listed coal miner Exxaro expects to wheel power to customers from 4 independent power producer coal-fired power stations at its proposed greenfield Thabametsi coal mine. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer is in the studio to tell us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Martin, how much energy is Eskom expecting to produce with this mine?
Well, we're talking here about Exxaro, not Eskom. So Exxaro is looking to its Thabametsi mine to feed independent power producers, and it's all planning at this stage. They're looking at about 1,200 megawatts, of power coming through from these independent power producers. They've been talking about this for a long time, and they're in the Waterberg. Thabametsi is the translation of that. The Metsi is the water, Thaba, so it's Waterberg, the Thabametsi name. And this has been mooted as the vehicle by Exxaro for some time to provide coal to independent power producers, a new phenomenon in South Africa, where you have the private sector actually producing power. But there's a lot of regulatory certainty that's still got to be put in place. But in the meantime, they are going ahead of the country and planning so that when this regulatory certainty arises, they will be able to feed coal to independent power producers, who then hopefully will have the regulatory certainty to put this into the grid. The big thing with Exxaro is that it's also talking about wheeling. So it's anticipating a regulatory environment in which the transmission of electricity is split from the generation of electricity, and that they can negotiate with the new controller of the transmission and what they call wheel electricity, have the right to move electricity to customers. They might, as a catalyst for all this, have arranged with a platinum mine that they would provide a certain megawattage to that platinum mine. And then they will arrange with the new authority, and it's so much theory at the moment because we haven't got this regulatory certainty, to then supply that sort of megawattage to that client. It might be a platinum mine, and they'll wheel it, as the new term being used. They'll wheel this electricity.
So there still seems to be quite a lot that needs to be done before they can do all of this.
Yeah, I mean, the involvement of the private sector has been mooted for so many years now, and no proper conclusion has ever been reached. And I think that what Exxaro are doing is they envisaging the likely scenario, and they planning so that they can anticipate the likely scenario and then be quick out of the starting blocks.
Now it looks like they also want to build a cogeneration plant on the market coke plant. What value is there in this?
Cogeneration, we've been talking about it for so long and doing so little, which has become the trademark of South Africans. You talk and you do so little. And this cogeneration, I think we've had headlines about it for the last 10 years with very little being done. And there you see this heat energy in so many metallurgical processes just going to waste, which is like a scandal. It's almost like the scandal of Nigeria, where when you fly over there at night, it's almost like daylight because they burn gas, they burn it. This wonderful natural resource that you've given by nature, they just burn it off. I mean, it's the most shocking thing. And in South Africa, we've had this heat that's been available as a means of getting megawattage, of getting electricity, and we've just chatted about it for so long. I mean, there should be a truth commission at some stage to really point out who has delayed this energy creation from the metallurgical process where there's so much heat. But now what Exxaro want to do is form Exxaro on site, which will deal with the capture of this heat energy and the generation of the heat energy for a host. So the host might be a steel maker. They've got this available heat energy which can be converted into electricity, and Exxaro will actually do the job. They will either do it across the fence, as they say, in an arm's length way, So there might be a steel maker, they have a cogeneration plant across the fence, or they'll do it as a joint venture with this metallurgical plant on a pain, you share the pain and you share the gain, as it were, basis. But they want to do this particularly with their own projects. They've got Namakwa Sands where there's a smelter. They want to generate about 17 megawatts out of that, and that is likely to be the first to go ahead. And then they're planning a coke plant, because these are not only coal miners, they add value to the coal, and you can add value through creating char, which they've done, and now they want to add value with their market coke plant, which hasn't been built yet. They have got one phase of their char plant built, and from that co-generate about 90 megawatts of electricity on that site where we see them, where they're using 55 megawatts of electricity at the moment, and with the expansion to feed the coal to the Medupi power station being built by Eskom, they will have a demand for about 75 megawatts, and then if they can generate 90 megawatts from their own coke plant, they've got some to spare to sell into the grid.
Now, Martin, it looks like they're moving away from their core business of coal mining. What's the story?
One would get the impression that they are, but you'll see that their real business is diversified. They are a diversified company, so they're not only in coal. You see them in mineral sands. That's why they've got the Namakwa Sands plant, where they might have their own cogeneration. And you saw them in zinc. They're exiting zinc, so they are concentrating more on coal, because that's where they're getting the best return. And associated with this coal, and they imagine in years to come they will be selling about 90 million tons of coal. And they feel that if you are exposed to carbon, to the carbon era, to that extent, you need to mitigate that exposure by also becoming involved in renewables. So they're looking to also generating renewable energy, wind energy, solar, again in that great Waterberg region, which is, has got such a wealth of coal, and it's also got a wealth of sun. They're looking to creating a concentrated solar plant. So they're doing a study on that. So they want to make sure that their carbon exposure is mitigated to some extent by becoming involved in renewable energy. So they want to look to wind energy, solar energy, and other aspects that can give them a broader spectrum of contribution in the energy field.
Thank you so much for your interest, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's the show for today. Join us again next time for more news and insights into what's happening in the mining world.